All right, team. So Deebo Samuel has been extended. All right, Deebo Samuel has been extended. Was it 3 years, 72 million, 58 million up front? Actually, let me get the numbers again, guys. Deebo Samuel's extension, and it's funny on the not the last episode, but the last episode which I had a co-host. My boy Salman. He shout out Salman. You watching this? He called it. So let's see. Deebo Samuel, 3-year extension. 73.5 million, 58.1 million guaranteed. So even more guaranteed money than DK got. Around the same numbers. DK got 72 million, so Deebo got more. So ultimately, like this, I think the market really dictates, kind of what wide receivers should get. And I think it's good that they're able to hammer this out. Obviously, Deebo being a dual fit in Shanahan's scheme. There's a lot of kind of questions before the training camp this year about whether or not Deebo is happy with his role, whether or not the Niners could resign him, right? Because he wanted to be used primarily as a wide receiver, not as a running back. He went on Twitter not too long ago and said and shut those rumors down, saying that there's no validity or credibility to those rumors. I think ultimately Deebo as a player, he just brings so much value to the 49ers offense. I mean, 1,400 yards receiving last year, was almost 800 yards rushing or something, or 200. I'm not sure how many yards rushing, but I mean, 1,400 yards receiving, and just I'm not sure was it 12 or 14 touchdowns or 16 touchdowns. So, I mean, Deebo obviously has proven himself to be one of the elite receivers in the NFL. He was top 5 in receiving yards last year. I expect him to continue that production with Trey, if not actually maybe even increase his total production, because Trey obviously can stretch the field a little bit more than Jimmy. But actually, yeah, so back to Trey. In the episode which I just referenced, I think I made a mistake about Trey's release. So let me find out if I can find the stats. Okay, here we go. So on the cover for this episode, you can see this, Trey Lance versus Jimmy Garoppolo. So obviously the release time, Trey has a 0.64 second difference, or 0.6. He's the release is 0.64 seconds slower than Jimmy's. His evade rate is higher than Jimmy's, 22.2%. His air yards per attempt, he throws for 10.5 yards. He averages 10.5. Jimmy averages 7.4 yards per attempt. The deep passes, Trey goes 20 plus yards 15.5% of the time. Jimmy only goes 6.1% of the time. And the deep completion percentage, right? Jimmy completed around 36.4% of his passes for 20 plus yards. And Trey completed 45.5% of his passes 20 plus yards last year in the 2 games he played. So I think that's why Deebo and Kittle and many others, mainly Deebo actually, Deebo and Ayuk and other receivers will definitely benefit from a Trey Lance, because he's going to open up the field, and he's going to make sure that the guys get involved. I think a receiver such as Deebo with his talent, could definitely benefit from a Trey Lance type of quarterback, right? And I'm thinking that, with all the weapons that we have outside Deebo, right? Juwan Jennings and many others, right? Kittle, I think Trey should be in a situation for him to succeed. Elijah Mitchell as well, and other members of the running game should definitely help set the tone, I think, for the Trey's first year in San Francisco. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Trey does. Obviously, I think Deebo and his extension was critical for Trey's success, because now you have the kind of the 2-headed monster or 3-headed monster, right, in the offense, in the backfield, as well as on the line, from wideouts. And so I'm not sure if I can predict Deebo will have the exact same production as he did last year. I do expect him to go over 1,000 yards receiving. I don't know what his rushing yard numbers will be, depending on how Shanahan and John Lynch integrate him, as a wide back, as much as they did last year. So I think there's a lot to look forward to, with Deebo's extension. I mean, I know that me and my co-host Salman, we predicted 10-7 for the Niners in the last episode, the episode before the last episode, right, about fantasy and the Niners preseason. So I don't see any reason to go any higher than that. Maybe 11 wins. Obviously, Vegas, the line is over and under at 10 wins for the Niners. So I think I'm gonna take 10 and pretty much just run with that. So I think 10-7 for the Niners this season. Hopefully they overachieve and they're able to prove everyone wrong. The defense looks great, but I still feel that Denver looks like I'm not sure. here's another problem. I picked Denver, you know, in the last episode to win the Super Bowl, but I also picked LA to win the NFC, right? So I mean, anything can happen in the Super Bowl, but obviously I think it's going to be Denver and LA. Granted, you know, and it's the NFL, anything can change. So, but I think you know those two teams are still the best teams in the NFL. But I do think Niners have a potential to make somewhat of a semblance of a postseason run if all the pieces stay in shape and if we're able to kind of capitalize, you know, on the offensive weapons and obviously, you know, just on Trey's abilities to try to go for the big play, right? So I think Trey's also gonna have to learn not only to obviously his release, but also his ability to not always force the ball down the field. That was the problem we have with Kaepernick, right? Kaepernick will try to force balls down the field. So, and obviously Jimmy's problem is that he couldn't force the ball down the field based on the numbers I just provide you guys. So I'm thinking Trey can definitely do a lot more if he tries to do less. But I mean, we did pick him up for a reason, right? We did sign him, and I think Shanahan went with him for a reason in the sense that, you know, Trey can definitely stretch the field, right? More than Jimmy can. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. So I think, you know, there's a reason why, you know, I think there's a reason why Shanahan likes quarterbacks who can do things like that. You know, the Super Bowl, you saw what happened when Shanahan and Jimmy, you know, he didn't trust Jimmy, but then he wanted to show everyone that Jimmy could, you know, play QB when the Niners were up 20-10 with eight and a half minutes left in the fourth quarter. And that was disastrous, right? I think ultimately if they kept running the ball, then they could have compiled more points, and maybe the Niners would be here as 6-time Super Bowl champions. But anyways, that's enough for that. I'm happy that Deebo is resigned. I do think Jimmy will probably end up with the Giants, as I predicted in the last episode about the Niners. So Jimmy with the Giants. Trey Lance is going to obviously, you know, have to, you know, learn the ropes and kind of come to speed this year. But I do think that the Niners can probably manage pull out 10 wins. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thank you for tuning in. God bless.